So, what about for a loose structure? Because it's been like almost a full year since the last R&B.
Yeah, last R&B was Juneteenth, which is coming right up again. Like we're like 2-3 weeks away from another Juneteenth.
Yeah, I saw it and I was like, holy shit, has it really been? Oh,
yeah.
Fuck.
Yeah.
All right. So
I think to start off with, I would like to say hello, everyone. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
We done dropped the ball on this one.
Hello, everybody. This is Rose and Blake, your annual friends, checking in again. I'm Elliot Rose, and with me is the wonderful and talented Sadie Blake.
Hello.
She's become a cat over the last year. It's she's one of those good luck cats.
Meow meow. Nobody can see the arm motion that I'm doing, but I am doing the universal lucky cat arm motion.
I can see it. Yeah, it's you got to be careful with with single arm motions. I found because it can turn real bad real quick.
Yeah, there's a couple of extremely iconic ones, shall we say?
Yes. Cool. So the first thing that we should do, I think, it's not like I'm going to throw this on you because we discussed it before this, but honestly, to anybody who has picked up, Rose and Blake's annual Juneteenth episode, first and foremost, I feel like we should say, "Hey, man, sorry. We had the best of intentions. I know that I was frequently overwhelmed and underwhelmed by my ability to kind of push through it. That isn't an excuse. That isn't to say for the people who still have kept our feed on their whatever you call it,
podcast
catcher
manager. For those of you who have somehow miraculously kept listening and kept downloading our episodes, thank you for that. And sorry that it has taken us this long to put out another episode. I don't know if you know this, Elliot, but this past year has been unprecedented. That's what I've heard. I've heard it's been unprecedented times.
I heard that there was a year similar to this about a century ago.
That's what I heard. Yeah, and I've heard that these have been difficult times. Which is to say, we don't need to repeat all the bullshit that everyone has been hearing for the past fucking year, because we've all been here in it. If you're listening to this now, you have almost certainly lived through the past year. And if you have not lived through the past year, you're probably too young to be listening to this episode, and you should get an adult.
Welcome to Earth, babies. Absolutely right. We all know what the score is. We all know what happened. This is going to be one of those. I think this is going to be one of those years that you will just say oh yeah, it's like 2020, and then the room will kind of a pall will fall over everybody there.
Yeah.
But thankfully, I'm double vaxxed. Sadie's double vaxxed. We're microchipped, which means that if we get lost, somebody can take us back to our owner. Fuck.
We get lost, Bill Gates can bring us home. If he's not too busy getting divorced.
Mm-hmm. But that is Sadie and I, nobody's privy to this because we don't live our lives online except for these occasional things and these podcasts. However, Sadie and I have been discussing this a lot lately because we like doing creative work, and we have been. I think I want to say taken aback, but not in the sad way, or not in the bad way. Like, surprised. Surprised by the amount of people that would continue to download WYD after we had been silent for
nearly a year.
Right.
Yeah.
And, it is unfair not to give some sort of resolution to the people who have found this podcast and who have who have invested in Beric and Gus and Okot and Jorix and Lifter. I feel like Lifter's probably the most popular side character I ever voiced.
Almost certainly, he's amazing.
my one good creation. And so, yes, we are in the beginning stages of getting the gang back together to record a send-off episode to the world of Galea, because that was how many years of our lives? 2 years?
At least 2, possibly. Yeah, no, I think 2 years. I want to say we started in 2018.
Jesus, the salad days of 2018. And so we will conclude Galea, and we will tie up as many plot lines as we can, even though it's been over a year. And we do have designs on a new world using a new game system. That is to say, and I know that we've said this before, but this time we mean it, goddammit. We are going to finish and we are going to continue. Those two things kind of sound weird back to back, but I assume that you guys know what we mean.
Yeah. We always said that we were going to keep going. We never said when. So
yeah.
That's such a terrible excuse.
No.
It's your fault for feeling like we abandoned you because we didn't put anything up for a year. No, of little faith.
Yeah, think of yourselves like Job, and think of us as
we're testing you.
Right, just a crass god.
Actually, we're more like the shitty neighbors who are like, yeah, no, I think he abandoned you, buddy. I think maybe you should, I don't know, do something else. That seems like a lot of unnecessary suffering. If your god does exist, he's a dick, yo.
Yeah, that was what was it? God really gave the biz to Job because Satan was like, hey man, the reason that Job loves you so much is because you favor him. And God's
right.
Like, oh, you think it's because I favor him? Well, I'm going to offer him nothing but pain and pestilence, and he'll prove his loyalty to me. It's like, man,
you're a shitty friend, God. That's a shitty friend.
Yeah, it's not a great friend move. It's not a good friend move. However, it is an excellent vengeful deity move.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, an excellent vain, insecure deity move.
Yeah.
If I somehow ascended to godhood, and I will, I can imagine me just kind of look, if I was a god.
Mm-hmm. I'd God in the morning. I'd God in the evening. All over this land. Sorry.
And and if I had one follower, I know I'd fuck with that guy.
Of course you would.
So hard.
You don't have to be a god to do that. You fuck with me plenty.
Mm-hmm. No, yeah, and it's great. I have a great time. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah. We're all having fun. So much fun over here. It's super fun. Super great.
But yeah, so in conclusion, yes, we are going to get the band back together to finish up And we don't know what the future will look like. We don't know if the same players will return to start the new campaign, but we know that it will be the campaign, the new one. But now with promises made and eventually promises kept, what's been going on with you for the past, year?
Oh, just the general everything. I mean, like, I feel like this is the point where I would usually complain, but it seems really crass to complain because, like, I've been all right throughout the pandemic, like on a basic level. I stayed employed. I was able to stay home. Which those two things are things that thousands and thousands of people have not been able to have. So, like, I don't know, man. It's been a lot. It's been a lot.
Well, I mean, like, don't sell yourself short. You also have had 2 surgeries.
Well, that's true. I did have two back surgeries. I'm fine. Everything's fine. Nobody needs to worry.
I mean,
and really, like, the only people listening who would worry already know about it, unless my mom listens to this, in which case, sorry I didn't tell you about the second one, but it's not a big deal.
Like, that's a very good and sober way to encapsulate the year. Extremely fortunate in a variety of ways, and then I've been able to work from home, and I've been employed. However, there's been something that's really been sticking in my craw, and that's the fact that my New Yorker tote bag isn't the marigold that I thought it was going to be. Instead, it's a mustard. So I'm pretty fucking irate.
Well, I mean, I think that's perfectly justified, and you should take to the streets.
I go to the co-op with my Rambo-like belt of tote bags, and they don't color coordinate. And I'm just so embarrassed for me and for and for anybody who sees it.
And humankind, really. I mean, that is like a moral failing on a massive scale, if you ask me.
Right? Yeah, it's like not to put us in direct comparison, but I feel like it's worse than having 2 back surgeries. Like, not to say that it's 1-to-1 or even 2-to-1.
No. I think you're absolutely right. You definitely have had a harder time of it than me, for sure. I mean, all I had to do was get my back sliced open twice and then recover from that. I mean, people do that every day.
Let me just say this. Mustard is not marigold. Marigold is not mustard. They both begin with an M.
I'm envisioning protest signs that just say marigold, not mustard. And, like, I really want to start marching around downtown with those signs and just confusing the shit out of everyone.
Yeah, I mean, like, that seems like the best. That seems like the biggest injustice that I need to work against now. We figured out everything else, being a Filipino man.
We definitely solved racism.
Yeah.
We definitely solved sexism.
Right. We did that like 2 years ago.
Yeah. I mean, we let a woman run for president.
Right. Again.
Come on.
Yeah. They did it twice. And, like, great for them.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like that's enough, obviously.
Yeah. We don't have to open that box again. We know it's there.
Look, you got to try.
And not succeed.
Yeah. What more could you possibly want?
Yeah. But yeah.
So I think marigold, not mustard, is going to be the rallying cry of a new generation.
Yeah, I do hope. After the climate's made it inhospitable, except for like the sand, except for the
climate,
except for the sand, except for like
solved that one yet.
Not yet.
Sorry, I keep cutting you off.
Oh no, it's fine. It's like when the climate and the sand ghosts inhabit the loams. Like, I do hope that they do find like a marigold not mustard sign and wonder. Maybe that's how I could become a god.
They'll find that sign and be like, this was the conflict that ended it all.
Wait, did I ever tell you my favorite autobiography that I've ever read?
No.
It is the autobiography of the Archpriest Avvakum by himself. That's how it's literally titled.
Okay.
And it is by a Russian,
of course,
a Russian cleric named Avvakum.
You don't say.
He's an old believer. He's an archpriest, and he talks about like how his life, his life, and the greatest thing about it, besides the cat on the back of your chair, is the dude straight up says that he died twice and was resurrected.
Wow. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
I was like, that's a plot twist I didn't see coming. I didn't think that he would die twice, once to hypothermia and once to... That's kind of vague. And then, like, come back because faith in the Lord. But...
Wow.
That's...
I mean, I feel like that should be independently verified. Like, I don't feel like that's the kind of thing you can just write about yourself and be like, yep, take that at face value.
I mean, I bought it. Like, he seems legit. I mean, he was an archpriest after all.
Well, all right.
And like we do know that like Russian holy men are nigh unkillable, as in Rasputin.
Yeah. If Rasputin taught us anything,
it's that Russian holy men are made of steel. But yeah, so that was how the fuck did we get there? How did I talk about
marigold, not mustard?
Oh,
civilization. Yeah.
Jesus Christ! Like,
I mean, that escalated quickly.
Yeah, like I love our jokes and japes, Sadie, but sometimes, like, I'm like, how did we get from?
It is kind of difficult to like trace back sometimes, especially if we're not recording, which we frequently aren't.
Right. Yeah.
If this year has shown us anything, it's that we frequently do not record our conversations. Oh God, there's two cats. Oh my God.
They love you.
It's like a fucking jungle gym. Hi, Wyo. Yes. Thank you for almost killing me.
It's so interesting because like Manny has like such a sad face for such a goofy cat.
He really does. He has two speeds. It's either like, well, I guess three, because there's sad face, and then there's very regal Manny, and he sits very pretty.
Oh.
And then there's just enormous doofus. And oh, go ahead.
Oh, what's the predominant one?
Doofus for sure. He's like 90% doofus, 10% sad, and like 5% regal. And you'll notice that 5% puts him over 100. He is 105% cat. He's like the times that I've been over to your house and like I've observed the boy. Man, he is just such a just nature's weirdo. I mean, he's a dog cat.
He really
like
is.
he'll roll over for belly rubs, and he also, I don't know if you've ever seen this because he doesn't tend to do it as much in front of strangers, but like if he's on the hardwood floor and we're petting him, he will like flatten out like a seal on the rocks. Sort of like, it's the weirdest. I'm like, this cat has no bones. He clearly has no bones, because I don't know how he bends like that.
I mean, like, have you ever watched like videos about like cats getting through areas? Like,
no, but I know they can fit through. Like, if their head can fit into a space, they can fit their entire body in there, basically.
Yeah, it's like they're made of water, It's strange. It's strange, like just how like pliable and flexible they are. Right?
Yeah. I mean, that's Manny. Like anytime I pick him up that he doesn't want to be picked up, he just sort of like pours out of my hands.
Like, he's a slinky. He's a slinky cat. He's just a floppy doofus.
God, what a kid. God. Yeah, he's like, and then Wyo is just always very.
Wyo's the dignified one.
Yeah, and like you really do feel like she chooses you, because I know the times that I've been over, like, I'll be sitting in that one chair outside of the main couch, and then like she'll kind of like walk around a little bit, and all of a sudden, like, she'll jump up and like, oh hey, what's up, Wyo? She'll walk past you, and then she, like, if she likes you enough, she'll like walk back and like just plop down.
Yep. Yeah, and that's how she does it too. Like, she decides when it is time for pets, and it does not matter if you were, say, knitting or playing a video game or otherwise occupied with your hands, or maybe have a hot cup of coffee nearby. Like, if it is time for pets, all else must be dropped.
Yeah, I don't have the benefit of I don't have the companionship of cats or humans, or even my mind most of the time. However, I am now a robin landlord.
Oh.
Because a robin put his nest right next to where my car is and where my trash is. And so,
oh boy,
whenever I go out there and I'm throwing trash or I'm taking a car, he freaks out because he thinks I'm trying to like hone in on his turf, right? Because his turf is like literally right next to where my life is.
Right.
And so I'm now in the process of trying to trick him into liking me. Like, I'm trying to like beautify the property so that he wants to stay. Like, I put out a little like bowl of water and I surround it with like, I put a toll of raspberries whenever I go out to, throw trash. So I'll like walk up, and I'll, he'll start freaking out, and I'll like hold up my hand with like 5 raspberries and like throw them towards his nest. So I'm trying to see if like that will get him to be my friend. Because my eventual hope is that he'll find a nice mate, they'll settle down together, and I'll finally have grandkids.
It's a lovely dream.
Yeah, like I don't know when I don't know how I went directly from being my mother's son to being my mother, right? I don't know when
that happens to all of us eventually.
Yeah, the shift happened real quick because my mom was just like, she was just like, "You think you're ever gonna have kids?" I was like, "No, probably not." She's like, "Yeah." I would never have guessed that you would have either. I'm like, well, all right. I don't know how to take that one, ma'am. Like, do you think like I'm not father material? She's like, just couldn't imagine you with kids.
I mean, she's not wrong.
No, I never could. Like, I remember like an ex said it to me, like, I think you'd be a good dad. I was like, in what world? I'm like, some people are made to be dads, and some people are made to be uncles.
Oh yeah, you got big uncle energy.
Yeah, like I'm the fucking burnout weirdo who's like tramps into their life for like, a half sec. Like, it was still like one of my favorite jokes that I never get to do anymore because don't do stand up because of the global what have you. But like that weed joke was just always my favorite one to say because it was so stupid.
Man, your parents are fucking narcs.
You want some weed? Then that kid graduates and goes to college, and then I still tramping into her life. Man, your parents are such narcs. You got any weed?
Yeah, that's a good one.
I mean, that is like a Maya's future. Like, I'm calling my shot. Like, I'm like fucking Babe Ruth in it right now. Like, there will come a time because she's going to go to college and she's going to be successful, I'm going to fucking somehow end up around her life again. I'm gonna, like, straight up ask her for some weed. Do you smoke weed?
Very occasionally. I'm not against it, but I just never... It never crosses my mind as like, oh, that's a thing I could do.
Like,
I'm pretty sure we have weed in the house, and I am equally sure that that same weed has been there for multiple years, and it's probably no longer viable.
Okay, so because I recently, not recently, it's been like 6 months now, I bought edibles.
Yeah, edibles are where it's at.
And like, I'm still so bad at dosing. Like, I'm nowhere near good at it. I can tell the problem begins because I'm like, you know how I should deal with this? I should just order like a big old pizza. And then the day of debauchery begins.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Do you get the munchies?
I don't think I get the munchies so much. It's more that, like, most of the time, if I have had too much weed, I become extremely self-conscious and like start getting annoyed by myself. Like, every time I say something, I'm like, oh God, I'm so fucking irritating. God, my laugh is so stupid. Ugh, I hate it. Everyone thinks I'm dumb. And then I get extremely tired and then I fall asleep.
The Sandman sweeps you away from your self-criticism.
From my intense anxiety. Yes.
Yeah. Oh, take me away, Sandman. Jesus Christ. Wow. That's a bad trip. Holy shit.
It's not great.
No, I can see why like weed isn't like on your to-do list.
Yeah. And I mean, like, it's fun if I can keep it below that level, because that's the point where I realize I have gotten too high. And that's also the point where like time stops having any meaning. So not only am I incredibly anxious, but I am also eternally incredibly anxious because time just doesn't move forward. I can live forever in this moment of hating my laugh. It's great. It's a good time.
Holy shit. Like, do you ever have that moment? Do you ever have that thing like where like you'll do like time skips? Well, you'd be like, okay, I should probably get up and pour myself some coffee. And then you'll get up and then you'd be like, you're pouring yourself coffee. You're like, okay, how did I get here? Did I just miss all the intervening steps? And like when you're like wondering if you've missed the intervening steps, like you're already drinking it on the couch. You're like, when did I get here? Right?
Right. Yeah. It's like, oh, there was a lot of autopilot had that happened just then.
But like, it's that thing where like I think that I'm in control because I'm like, okay, brain, you and me, we're in this together. We're gonna get up and we're gonna go and we're gonna be conscious during the whole thing and we're gonna get coffee. And my brain's like, right, shut up. And then like cut to like it is so surreal and I kind of love it because like I wish I could yada yada like most of my life. Like, all right, time to go to work.
Like, just fast forward through all the boring bits.
Yeah, it's like, how did I end up in Mount Kilimanjaro? Meh. Oh, I'm probably gonna die here.
Oh, that would be such an interesting character for a campaign, is somebody who, like, unless they are focusing fully on what they're doing, like they blank out and just like magically end up somewhere else.
You know, that really fits. That fits in Onisino.
Yeah, I feel like that would have to be an NPC because I don't see how you could bring the party along if you're like, if they were like, okay, listen, George, we really, really need you to pay attention right now because like we all need to stay right here and fuck. Now we're in Everest.
Yeah, because
were you even listening?
Yeah, that would totally work because it's like it's like, you know, it's like dream and reality, and like if that person's like from the dream world and they have to like be conscious,
totally.
Of where they are. Yeah, or else they just snap. That's such a cool idea.
Or else like the context change, because you know how like in dreams, like the context will just change without you really noticing. You know, it's like you're like 1 minute I was, in my house, and then, without anything changing, I was suddenly out in a field sitting on my couch, or whatever it is. That sort of dream logic, like this all made sense at the time, but now that I'm telling you about it, it seems a bit ridiculous.
So, okay, so on the thing of ridiculous dreams, you have a lot of them.
Yes.
I finally had one. So, because what was it? The dream that like kind of fucked me up was the one that you told me where like you dreamed that your parents were driving through the Marianas Trench. Was that it?
Oh my god. Yeah. No. So like, yeah. So my ex-husband had outfitted like an SUV, like just a regular truck, and he was gonna take it on a road trip to the bottom of the ocean, to the Marianas Trench. And like I knew for sure in the dream that this was going to be a problem. Like, I don't think this is going to work out for you, but like, we're not married anymore, so sail on, soldier of fortune, and best of luck to you. You make your choices and you live your dreams. I am not responsible anymore. And then I got a phone call on a cell phone from the bottom of the ocean, which totally happens.
Yeah.
And it turns out that like my entire family had gone on this road trip with him. And I knew somehow that all the tires were leaking air and they were going to get stuck and would not be able to get out to change the flat tire because, again, ocean.
Right.
And so like, yeah. So I woke up like knowing they were all going to die.
Man, that's like, yeah, that kind of like that freaked me out because I was like, man, because I told you like I was thinking about joining the Navy when I was 18 and had no prospects, as opposed to being 37 and having no prospects. I aged out, and so I took the ASVAB, right, and or I took the precursor to the ASVAB, right. And they're like, based on your scores, you have a very interesting career path that you could choose. I was like, oh. And they were like, you could be one of our nuclear technicians. I was like, okay, what would that entail? And, they were like, you'd work with nuclear. I was like, no, I figured that. I'm pretty smart, like your dumb test told me. And like you could be on a nuclear submarine, keeping that thing just existing. And I was thinking about it, and I was like, what a bright future that would be, to be at the bottom of the ocean floor next to something that could kill all of us. Like, if I just miscalculate, right?
Right. Just maintaining.
Yeah, just like being buried under sea with pressure just pushing both externally and internally as I'm around nuclear fission that I'm trying to keep going. I was like, based on like what I know of myself, which is like I don't do well if I succeed. This feels like the exact wrong path for me to go under, because it'd be like, boy, you're at the top of your class. I was like, you can't ever say that. I gotta always be fighting from underneath. Because the minute that like my superior officer says like, "Good job, Rose," I'm like, we're all fucking dead, you idiot. But I probably would have washed out based on like the psychiatric eval. Like I would have bet that I bet I would have washed out right then.
That's entirely possible.
Unless they were desperate.
Well, when are they not? I mean, but I will also say that like you mentioned the the pressure from outside as well as within. Like that's what I used to comfort myself when I woke up from that nightmare. Was like, oh well, the water pressure from the ocean would have crushed that car long before they got to the Marianas Trench. So, like, that can't possibly be what actually happened.
That is a black mercy.
I believe that is the definition of cold comfort.
because I told you about the. Oh man. So, do you know what The Wall is by Pink Floyd?
No, explain it.
So, The Wall is.
Yes, I'm aware.
It's a album / movie experience put on by the band Pink Floyd. Hence, Pink Floyd's The Wall. But.
Oh, is that where that comes from? I see.
It's not just cool words that happen to coincide with the band of the same name. But so there's this bit called The Trial, where the main character, Pink, is put on trial by psychosexual manifestations of his id, or his mind.
Sure. Totally normal.
For failures as a student, husband, and son. Right.
Okay.
And I had been listening to The Wall a lot lately. It's not related to my having weed. And so, like, I had a version of that dream where my ex was one of my accusers.
Okay.
And I was like, boy howdy, huh? That was a pretty intense one. Something tells me that my mind is like, you gotta fucking deal with whatever that is. I was like, can we just shove it off for the rest of our lives? Is it possible that I don't deal with this directly?
Your brain's like, no, we gotta sort this shit out. Like, come on.
But hold on, bear with me on this. We've avoided it for almost 40 years, baby. Like, we're not gonna do another 40. Like, we're out in like another 15. Like, we can hang on for 15. It's like, what if you live longer? I'm like, ugh. So, wretched thought. So I give my ex a call, and I was like, "Hey," and she doesn't recognize my voice because it's been so long. And I was like,
man,
that's good. Yeah, it was like weird. And I was like, "Do you remember this guy?" And she's like, "Oh yeah, that guy." Right.
He told me he was thinking about you the other day. I am not him. Just someone else that he asked to get in touch.
I do a messenger service, this weird con.
It's this business that I'm starting up where, like, people who don't want to contact their exes directly can contact me, and I'll contact their ex directly. So that they can still harass you while keeping their promise not to harass you. It's a wonderful service.
Yeah, it's a real benefit to society.
Yeah. Women in particular love it.
Ex directly.
Fed exes.
So, you know, I reintroduced myself. So, you know, we were together for a number of years in the aughts. She's like, I tried to forget. I was like, yeah, no, I understand. Anyway, so we begin to talk, and we get to this point where, Sadie, you remember this? I went to the hospital a couple of years ago, and like I called people that I was closest to. So my mom, my mother, you, and my ex. And when I told you guys that I was in the hospital, all of you, to your credit, asked, like, do you want me to come by? And I was like, nah. Old Il's got to do this on his own. So it's one thing telling, you know, your friend that, right? Because, like, friends, you know, not as. It's one thing telling a friend that. It's another thing, like, telling your mom that, right? And you're like, well, because she can make the excuse, like, well, I am an old woman, and, you know, he's a weird kid. He's a weird, like, I can't say kid anymore. He's a weird man, you know. But I think it's like another thing entirely, like, if it's your partner, right? And you're like, hey,
Right.
this is the worst it's ever been for me, and no to
Right.
you, right?
Right. Even though, like, theoretically, we are supposed to be a support structure for each other, and that's kind of like one of the main goals that society has set up for such relationships. Nah. Nah.
Not for this guy. And so I was talking to her about it. I was like, I have this crazy suspicion. Like, can you tell me, like, if I'm totally off the mark? And she goes, okay. And I was like, remember when I was in the hospital? She's like, mm-hmm. I was like, what did it kind of like put an end to everything that we were when you asked if I wanted you there, and I said, no, I don't want you here? And she said, oh yeah, 100%. I was like, right.
She's sitting there like, well, I'm glad you finally figured it out.
It was like 4 years late. And she said like this thing that really like stuck with me. She's like, it's because it like what it told me is that it said you would never fully trust me to take care of you. Like I just want to care for you. And I was like, right. I get that. Well, here's what I
What if you don't? What if you don't, though?
But here's a really compelling question. What if you don't, though, is the thing, though? And so I said, it's been a long time. I know that I finally just got it, but I can tell you this with all honesty. If this were to happen again and we were in the same situation, I would most likely ask you to come. And she goes, most likely. If you wanted to. She's like, oh, for fuck's sake.
Like, I would most likely, probably, almost definitely consider thinking about giving a different answer. Maybe.
Right. I would think about it an awful lot. And I would probably get back to you once I was discharged.
I've changed, baby.
All new, all different L. God. So, I mean, like, I'm glad that, my brain finally got us to resolve that. I'm glad that I could give her the closure that if things were different and if I were, after everything that I've learned, that I would most certainly consider asking her to come if it wasn't too much trouble and if she didn't have any other prior engagements.
She's like, oh, I've got Bridge Club.
I knew you had Bridge Club. I should have gotten hospitalized.
I shouldn't have asked. Yeah.
I should have gotten hospitalized on Tuesday. You're usually open on Tuesdays. I'd also like to point out that my girlfriend was 78 at the time because she was a frequent Bridge Club goer.
Yeah, well, those 78-year-olds, they've got it figured out.
Ellie and June, they called us. So, okay. Okay. You're kind of completely off the map when it comes to like social media, right?
Yeah. I have a Twitter account that I haven't used in multiple years. I have a Facebook account that I have also not used in multiple years. I have a LinkedIn that I try to forget exists because, God, I hate it so fucking much.
Oh my God.
LinkedIn found a way to take social media, which already sucked, and make it so much worse.
Yeah.
Like, social media with a resume, fuck right off. Why don't you just go ahead and fuck right off? Like, I hate it. I hate it entirely and completely.
It's like, hey man, do you want to have work pressure added to social media? Here, your boss just wrote something. You should like it and share it. Like, oh, I hate this.
Yep. Like I mostly use LinkedIn as a way to like keep track of my job history. And like, aside from the like, 2 to 0.5 times a year that I change jobs, I don't fucking touch the thing.
Yeah, I mean, like, so like, because like I will randomly, like, if I have a weird idea, like, a weird thought that comes across my head, like, I'll be like, the world deserves to see this. Or like if I take a good photograph. And so like I took my biannual good photograph for the like this year and next year. And so I posted it on Facebook, right? Change your fucking Facebook profile.
Yeah.
And like the only people who said that I was handsome are both in the over 50 category. I was like,
I feel like handsome is kind of an over 50 word,
Yeah, I mean, like, what I mean, like, and I guess, like, I don't know, like, it was such a weird thing to me to have, like, one of the people said, like, oh, looking very handsome and caliente. I was like, oh, that just sounds lame.
Like, I know enough Spanish to know the connotations in that of caliente in particular are questionable at best.
Yeah, and then it's just like I don't know how to deal with this. Like, I think you're 60, and I don't like. Hey, don't hate the player, hate the game, and I do.
And I ate both.
But yeah, it was just like, I don't know. Like, I don't know what I'm doing. Like, it's so fucking hard with like social media because I just don't understand it. Like, I fundamentally don't understand it.
Yeah.
Because like I can put on like, which is weird for us, right? Because like, look at what we're doing right now. We've been talking for an hour and 7 minutes about like, here's a dumb idea that I had. Oh, here's my funny idea on top of that idea. Like, right?
Yeah.
Like, we can do that. Love putting that out there. But like a fucking page where you're like, kiwis taste good.
And then you immediately get 50 people that are like, you are wrong. You are wrong, and you're basically Hitler if you think that. Like,
yeah. What? I mean, like, I can understand that if you're not into the citrus family of fruits, but, I don't know if it's that dire. So, like, I guess I'm, like, trying to figure out, like, why do we have that discrepancy between, like, enjoy talking and just, like, putting out, like, hey, we're ourselves, and I think we do it fairly well enough that we're willing to risk embarrassment consistently,
right,
and persistently, but like saying like, hey, here's how my life's doing. Here's a photo of a fucking La Croix. Like why are we willing to do this as opposed to like status updates?
I think, okay, here's my theory. I think part of it is that when you make a post on social media, you are not talking to anyone in particular necessarily. Like this between you and me, like it's almost easy enough for me to just pretend like we're not actually recording this and that we're not going to send it out to the audience who is definitely listening to this right now. Like I can just chat with my friend. But when I write a status update on Facebook, it's a little more like, hello world, here I am. Look at me go. I'm here and I'm important. Like, it just, like, there's a lot that I would tell you that I would not necessarily be interested in telling literally everybody I know and a lot of people that I don't, because let's face it, like, I did not know how to curate a friends list back when I started Facebook. So I think that's part of it. And I think also, yeah, there's something about the sort of asynchronicity of it where, like, I mean, I guess this is true of putting up podcasts too, that like once you put it up, anyone can find it and read/listen to it at any time. But like, yeah, I don't know. Somehow putting it in text,
I mean, like,
just doesn't.
Well,
I don't know.
I think like with the asynchronicity, like you and I are in sync, and you and I will remain in sync no matter when somebody finds this again, right? Like because it just captures this moment in time where we're like freely exchanging ideas, right? And,
totally.
So like, yeah, I think you're right because I don't view this as like, statement piece to the world. I view it as like, hey, I'm gonna chat with my friend, and then we're also gonna do some housekeeping, and then I'm just gonna have a good time. Whereas like, okay, I wouldn't be right. Okay, like a memory, right? When Facebook sends you a memory, like I'm frequently embarrassed by those, right? Like I'm like, why the fuck did I think it would be such a great idea to try to sell Scentsy? Why did I think that would be a great idea? And so I'm frequently embarrassed by what like 6 years ago Elliot was doing. Because he was a fucking idiot. And whereas like I can listen to our old recordings of, us fucking WID or the Rose and Blake live shows. And like I can still like find them. I'm not embarrassed by them. Right?
Right. It's funny you mentioned that. I did download from episode 1 of WID, and I've been listening back to it just partly because I ran out of other podcasts to listen to, and partly because like I'm interested to see how it holds together as a story when you listen to it all the way through. And I am slightly embarrassed.
What are you embarrassed by?
Just by myself. Just by like, what? I think it took me a while to sort of get in the groove of Okot as a character and to sort of like settle into my role within the team, within the game playing group,
Oh, and like what do you think your role is?
Oh fuck! I really was hoping you didn't ask that. So I'm not sure I know.
Like, okay.
But I think we kind of fell into like Jorix and I are the plot drivers. I should say Chris and I, and then like Ryan and Parker are the goofers. And I think it took a little while for that to coalesce. Like I think Chris has been good at driving the plot forward, like basically since he was born. That's like his job. It's what he's best at. It's what he does.
Yeah, like I always read it as like.
No, go ahead.
I always read it as like you guys were on a continuum where it was like Jorix's plot. And like that's not to take away from Kish's ability to joke and have fun. Like he has like one of my favorite. He's a wonderful straight man. He's so good and he's so giving.
Yes, he has an excellent sense of humor that is incredibly well timed.
And so like, but the reason that I asked him to be on the group was I was like I knew that I needed a plot guy. And like he's always the one who like when everybody would go on their jokes and japes, he would always do that famous like turn with his hand on his. So Elliot, what are we
chin in his hand?
So what's this new thing, Elliot? Right? And so like I was like, thank you, bless you. And I always felt like you were next in that you were plot heavy, or you were like it was like a 60-40 where you were
mostly plot but some goofs.
Yeah, and like when you got into a goof ring, you could totally go for it. And then I feel like Gus was the opposite. He was mostly goofs, but he could plot forward, right?
Right. And then Ryan is just all goofs all the time. And I noticed this. I'm like early on in episode 2 right now, and I noticed this when we got to it was the very beginning of episode 2 where we've just finished the battle and the room goes dark and we're like trying to climb out of the room when Evangeline appears for the first time. And I noticed that Ryan was purposely like rambling and goofing and taking his time, like while I was trying to like panic scramble out of the room. Like it was, I didn't notice it at the time, but it was definitely like, he's like, how long can I stretch this moment out while Sadie is panicking? It's like, oh, you. And I'm sure he's done it to me a million times, and it's very funny. I don't want to give the wrong impression. It's hilarious, but it's just like, oh, you son of a.
Yeah, no, that's like it's very it's kind of interesting now because Parker, we are involved in. Parker is doing a game in his world, and like he asked us to play, and so we are, and so it's very interesting for me to see like how I fit as a team member.
Yeah,
and I realize like I don't fit particularly well as a team member. I don't think. Like I think I'm somebody who has like set plans, and I'm going to like try to achieve them as much as possible. And I will try to like involve like someone that I think is sympathetic, which has been Sadie thus far, because our backstories are aligned. But like I noticed like because what was it? We were all going to we had our off time, and then like we were trying to figure out what we were going to do. I was like, I'm going to go see about that one guy that we talked about before. And like I start to like walk away. And you're like, do you want some?
Do you want me to come with you to talk to the guy who has brought up a major plot point involving my personal backstory? Did you maybe want to invite me along on that?
And I was like, yeah, well, sure, whatever. And then,
like, God.
And then like all of a sudden like everybody else follows except for like Chris, who's just like, I'm just gonna like, hang out and be liked. And, like,
yeah, everyone else is like, well, if Sadie's this upset about it, I want to see what's going on. It's like, it's like, I need to stop making characters that have secrets in their backstory. That's what that comes down to.
Yeah, like, your secrets get blown up pretty quick.
Pretty immediately. And then like when they do eventually like come out in the way that I intended, that everyone's like, oh wow, what a surprise, we had no idea that you were a tiefling.
I still like Okat's hairstyle, and I think that's such a cool idea.
Yeah,
but yeah, so no, it's like, so I can definitely see like it, and that's actually how it was. Like whenever I've played, like I've always played as like a rogue. Or like a out of touch wizard, right? This is just my go-tos. And like I realize like I'm always the character, or I'm always the player who's like, right. I don't really care if I'm gonna do this with the group. I'd rather just do my own thing and like not have to deliberate with everybody. Like
right.
So it can be good in some ways, but I'm probably gonna die because of that, right? I always thought like, you ever do that game where like you try to figure out who you would be in a horror movie? Oh
no, I haven't done that.
Right, like are you the last girl, and
yeah,
or are you like the, what have you? And I realized exactly like the person that I would be in a horror movie.
You're the I'll be right back guy.
I will be the guy who's like shit talking like the fucking local legend. About like, there's a murderer, they say like every 30 years a murderer comes out. I'm like, yeah, whatever. Like, okay, you old believers. Like, fuck you, you dumb idiots. Anyway, I'm going to go out into the woods by myself. See you later, idiots. And like, I would just totally die. Like I would, and I'd like to think that I would die still not believing like the legend killed me.
You're like, there's a perfectly rational explanation for this, like as you're being gutted by a ghost.
I like to think that's how I would handle being gutted by a ghost. Science is funny. Science is magical in its ways.
The more we know, the more we realize we don't know.
My head falls off my shoulders, rolling down.
Still with a pondering look.
Yeah, I mean, like, yeah, I think like, I want that.
Okay, so, but like let's get this next season under wraps first before you go off and get murdered by ghosts. Let's get this podcast back up and going.
No, that's true. Like Oh, that should be the season finale. Or no, would that be the series finale?
Dun dun dun.
No, I'm not a main enough character to be a series finale. Season finale, and then we introduce the hot new thing who's gonna like take over for the old and busted. Probably like a woman who drives a motorcycle.
Almost certainly, yeah. Note to self: buy motorcycle.
Oh yeah. Oh man, it'd be so fucking rad if you did.
Yeah.
I can't believe how much time is going by.
It's fucking ridiculous.
You know what else I can't believe? That we are getting everything back on track. Actually, I can believe it. Because just if you've listened this long for this hour, for this,
bless you.
Here.
First and foremost, bless you for listening, and thank you.
But we goddamn guarantee that we'll do right by you. So for okay, I'm gonna try this. So for Sadie Blake, I'm Elliot Rose.
And for Elliot Rose, I'm Sadie Blake. What just happened?
I'm trying to figure. I had this little rhythm in my head where it was like.
So like, is it supposed to be like for NPR? I'm Elliot.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
All right. Gotcha. I don't know why you are yourself on behalf of me, but I
think that's a good way to end it.